Yeah, the original story, you have a lot of questions. It's also from Sleeping Beauty's POV, so now this one is from Maleficent's point of view, and all those questions are answered, which is nice. You kind of get the backstory, and you understand why she's so angry, and which leads up to Maleficent actually cursing, a baby. So what made her so evil,
Is Angelina really evil? What was that experience like?
No, she's not. She's one of the nicest ladies in the world. She's she's unbelievable, and just to see her work and be a mom too. All her kids were always on set.
What's the timeless magic of Disney, and what are we maybe going to see from this that we haven't seen from a Disney film before?
Yeah, it pretty much, it's nice. I think it's a little more gothic, it has definitely dark qualities to it, because it's from a villain's point of view. Disney's never done that pretty much before, so but also it has the lightness in it as well, and also it's a whole new world you've never seen, created digitally, so all these little creatures and things.
Playing a Disney princess, a dream realised for you? I mean, were you a little girl who grew up in Disney?
I was. Especially Sleeping Beauty, she was my favorite always. I felt like I related to her the most. Each princess has different color hair and different dress, and she had blonde hair and the pink dress, and that was what I related to the most. And so, yeah, it was a dream come true to kind of be welcomed into the Disney community as well. To say, I'm Aurora, which is so weird. I'm like, I am not Aurora. She is Aurora. The drawing is Aurora. I just tried to get inspiration from her.
It's great. I mean, it's the story of in the original cartoon, Maleficent is more purely evil figure who curses this little baby, and this is sort of the background story to why anybody would curse an innocent child, and it was fun being her lackey. It was good. Yeah, I mean, what was good about this was that they did build a lot of sets, so you weren't always having to use your imagination. There's some blue screen, but they really built some incredible, so you really felt like you were there to some extent.
Talking about incredible, obviously Angelina, it's an iconic character she's playing, she's an iconic actress. What makes her so incredibly special, and what was your lasting memory of working with her?
Well, she's very charismatic, and she's a real star. There aren't many. Brad's one, she's one, and there's probably only a handful of others. But, they're a very charming family. And I think my lasting memory will be the very first time I saw her in the costume. It was my first day on set, and I was shitting myself.
Of course, I mean, I think there's a sense, talking about special talents, that Elle is a very special young talent herself. Can you talk a bit about working with her and what makes her such a luminous presence as Aurora?
Well, she's sort of unspoiled. She's and unaffected by growing up in Los Angeles and being a very young actress, which is rare, I think. But she's very charming and very talented.
Of course, I mean, the classic sort of tale of Sleeping Beauty is all about innocence and good and evil. What do you think the themes of Maleficent are? What do you think audiences are going to take away from it in an emotional level?
Well, the themes aren't dissimilar, but it's more a case of there's no such things aren't quite as clear cut. They're not as black and white. And these days, she's not lying there waiting for a prince necessarily, which is a bit of an old-fashioned way of looking at it, I suppose.
Final question: you've got a message to fans why they should be rushing out to watch Maleficent when it hits our screens at the end of the month?
It's the best film out this month.
I'm Flittle, who's one of the 3 pixies who look after the baby Aurora. The other 2 pixies are Juno Temple and Imelda Staunton. People might remember them from the original cartoon, but they were the little chubby pixies who kind of, buzzed around. Obviously, we're not chubby. No chubby doesn't come into it. So that's it, really. So some of the film we're life-size. They turn themselves into life-size people so they can look after the baby. And then at the beginning of the film, at the end of the film, they're really tiny little pixies, which we did all in motion capture, flying around Pinewood. Well, Angelina's absolutely lovely, and she's a proper actor. She just gets down to it and does it, and so when you're in a room with her, there is a moment when you go, okay, that's Angelina. But then at the end of the day, we're all actors and we're just trying to sort out how to play a scene and get it right and do it properly and do our job to the best of our abilities. So that kind of goes by the way. She was absolutely lovely. I'm desperate to see the film, and I'm sure she's quite wonderful in it.
Of course, you're working with a very exciting young talent in Elle. Can you talk a little bit about her and her performance as Aurora? Because she just seems perfect for the role.
Well, the Pixies have a few scenes with Elle playing Aurora. She was, and I don't bandy this phrase around much, she's one of the nicest young ladies, without any ego, no side, not spoilt. There was never a time when you thought, that girl needs to calm down and she's had too much too soon. And all that. She wants to get it right. She has an impeccable English accent in the film. She was delightful. And you know what the sweetest thing was at the end of the shoot? She bought us the 3 Pixies presents. She came in with them all wrapped up and the sweet little presents.
You have to tell us, what did you get?
No, I'm not, because that's private. Some things are private.
You talked about Elle. I mean, obviously working with Imelda and Juno as well, some great talents there as well. What was it like working with that? Because I think obviously in the original film, the sort of the banter between the Pixies was one of the sort of the comedic high points in the film.
Oh no, the Pixies are definitely the comedy element of this film. Definitely. Imelda and I go way back. We've done a few films together, Mike Leigh films. We were also in Cranford together on the BBC. Juno, I didn't know. Again, she's another really, really lovely, talented young actress. I mean, the 3 of us, they got it right, because the chemistry between the 3 of us was just great, on set and off. I really loved them both. And we have group texting.
Of course, I mean, this is a film that really celebrates the timeless magic of Disney. How do you feel this film continues that legacy, and what do you think we're going to see from this we maybe haven't from a Disney film before?
Well, I think it's going to have an element of darkness about it. I think some of the imagery is going to be startling, and I think it's kind of jaw-dropping stuff, really. The effects are just so amazing, so spectacular. And we do all our own stunts. We do.
What was your most energetic stunt? What was the most dangerous thing you had to do there?
No, energetic doesn't come into it. We had 4 weeks of flying. We had to do intensive Pilates training to get fit. That's the truth. And all the tumbling that we do, everything, it's all us.
Very pleased to hear that. What's next for you when you finish tumbling?
Well, I've just finished doing Ghosts in the West End, and we're hoping to take that to New York. So that's what I'm hoping is going to happen next.
Is there any other film work on the horizon, or is it just focusing on stage work?
No, I've got some films to come out. I've got a sort of kids film to come out called Molly Moon, the Incredible Hypnotist, which is going to come out later in the year. And I have a cameo in the latest Mike Leigh film, which is just about to go to Cannes, called Mr. Turner, which is all about Turner the painter.
We started this film, the prep for this film, 10 weeks before the first day of shoot, and I met Angelina like 8 weeks before the shoot, and we started from scratch. And everyone expected one costume because everyone remembers the animated character, and we created 8. And it was blood, sweat and tears, I have to say, and I had a lot of help we created Team Maleficent, because it's a huge movie apart from her costume. The whole background had to be created too, and 2 different worlds, and one fairyland, when the kingdom and a human kingdom. So we created a special group of people that just did Maleficent costumes, and they were led by my associate costume designer, Jane Clive, and with a lot of young people that experimented with our costumes, like with the millinery, with shoes, with the leather elements. It was going to the dark side when they started, and they helped me a lot. I think a bad person never looked so beautiful before. She looks absolutely amazing.
Did she have any like input into her costumes?
Big one. As I said, 150% of Angelina was there involved in creation of the designs. It is practically almost creating the identical silhouettes from the animated. The technical details were more difficult because I wanted very sculptured silhouette, but very slim silhouette. So it's like a dress with the bat wings attached and with a long train. And weighting down the train and making the costume behave like it should, because it's a lot of little pleated black fabric, meters of it, and it took weeks to make, weeks and nights, day and nights to make and adjust and achieve the final look.
Of course, around Angelina, there's a fantastic array of other characters, other costumes. I mean, particularly people like Elle and Sam. Can you talk a little bit about perfecting their look?
Well, with Elle, there were very innocent costumes. Aurora is the girl who lives in the forest, who never seen human being. Is just surrounded by these three strange funny fairies. So the prince is the first human being she met. So that's incredible. Thinking of her lines with her long hair, I thought of Ophelia. That was my inspiration, creating something like light, almost. You know, it's such a contrast to Angelina's character. Deval, I wanted him to look like a rock star because, of course, Raven is black, so his clothes should be black, and he was supposed to be covered in feathers. That's how they imagined. That was the first concept, and of course, it didn't work in the end. So, like a week before we shot, they said, "Dress him, Anna." Invent the costume, and we really panicked, and we thought, okay, let's go for like cross between a pirate and a rock star. High boots, leather trousers, frock coat, open black shirt. Here we are.
Is there a particular sequence in the film where you think the costumes really look their best? Is there a scene where you watch the film and you feel most proud of your work on screen?
Incredible. I haven't seen the movie, but I think the christening scene is quite impressive. I love that, and a lot of work went into it because we had to create the whole court of King Stephen, which is different from the court of, and for example, that was funny moment, we wanted to do like foreign dignitaries arriving, and I was dressing Pax and Zahara as one of the foreign people arriving, and the nannies, so they are kind of ethnic costumes, and they were you will see the film. That scene is quite impressive when it comes to costumes, I have to say.
Obviously, you mentioned earlier on that Angelina was very involved in her own costumes. What do you think, though, makes her such an extraordinary performer? What's her magic?
I think her magic is that she gives herself to this character fully. She really was the character, which sometimes I have to say was rather difficult. And she's extremely intelligent and hard-working actress. And I think people don't realize that she's not only beautiful, but she's also very incredibly intelligent actress. And that helps her to win on every front.
Obviously, I mean, these are costumes that not only have to look good, but they also have to be practical for a lot of the action scenes. Were there any specific challenges you faced making the costumes work?
The last costume, the leather costume, like all-in-one costume in leather, for the fight we had to make about 25 costumes for that sequence. And of course they broke, they were exposed to fire, so they had to be fireproof. They had to be. It was amazing. People don't realize that the costume and stunts don't go together, and sometimes you have to sacrifice beauty of the costume for practicalities of the action movie.
My final question, obviously the original film is such a beautiful piece of work. What do you think it is about the look of that film, and particularly in terms of the costume design and you know, the colour palette, that makes it so iconic, so visceral, so memorable?
It's it's this magic that is very difficult to put the finger on. You just meeting somebody else created such a long time ago, and it stays in your memory. And I think everyone as a child has seen Sleeping Beauty, and everyone remembers Maleficent. So that was the challenge of this movie, bringing this animated version to life and keep the magic on.